Welcome to The Business Behind Your Business, the podcast where we delve into the financial strategies and insights that drive success for small and medium-sized business owners. I'm your host, Paul Sweeney, and in each episode we bring you expert guests who share practical advice, real-world experiences, and actionable tips to empower you on your business journey. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, get ready to uncover the secrets to success and gain valuable insights into the business behind your business. So as a new business owner or an emerging business owner, sometimes the secret about growing your business is not what you think. Sometimes you need to go outside the box of conventional thinking about how you're going to fund the growth of your startup or your new business, how you're going to grow that next venture. Today's guest has helped you in this journey before. He's helped many people like you, founders securing capital by blending some of his medical background, the precise nature of that, but his entrepreneurial grit. And he's helped shape a lot of businesses take those steps to actually securing funding to help turn their dreams into reality, which is also a very difficult thing for startups to do because one of the biggest things holding them back is funding. So we're going to find out some of the keys to that. So we're going to have a look at this, capital raising. We're going to take a new perspective on this, something fresh, something different to think about. We're going to go outside the box here, and we're going to look at some of these green nuggets. Now, what is a green nugget? We're going to find out, but I'm not going to spoil it for you right now. But we're going to look at what are the green nuggets that you're going to uncover, and also what are some of the mistakes you're going to make along the way. And hopefully, we're going to help you not make those mistakes and go right to the source of expertise. Today's guest, Dr. David Cunic. He's an entrepreneur, investor relations specialist, founder of UCS Advisors, and he's got over 2 decades of experience in healthcare, investing, operations, highly regulated industries. He started more than 15 companies. He's coached thousands of or hundreds of thousands of business owners. I might have got those numbers wrong, but we'll find out the reality. Some of those tough questions about what you actually need to do to raise capital for your business. Dr. David Cunic, welcome to The Business Behind Your Business.
Paul, thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate it. And as we start off today, you're the third person I've talked to today down in Australia. So I love it.
Fantastic. And I believe that you've got some deeper connections with Australia in your past, but also tapping into that medical background. Now, we mentioned that. How has somebody with your background ended up in the world of capital raising?
Great question. So I'm a physio by trade. And ironically, my first mentor when I became a physio here in the United States was from the Gold Coast of Australia. And then my business partner, when I started all my physical therapy clinics, his wife is from Australia. So my godson has gone back, I want to say about 11 times back to the native land. So, but to answer your question directly, Paul, since I was 16 years old, I knew I wanted to be a physio. And my goal was to always open up my own clinics and sell them all and retire by the time I was 35. Now, ironically, I started my first clinic when I was 24 years old. And I did 6 expansions in 3.5 years. And I sold them all in 2013. But when I started opening my own clinics, I got the entrepreneurial bug. And I ended up starting about 7 companies in about 5 years. I took one of those companies public in the United States, as well as also in Germany as well, too. And interesting enough, when I'm starting all these companies, I had to raise money. And my old business partner, he did what I do now. But he used this thing called a telephone. We actually had to pick up the phone and talk to people. And there wasn't Zoom. There wasn't Facebook. You weren't using LinkedIn. You had to use a lost art of conversation and also have a proper investor etiquette as well as emotional intelligence. And it kind of came full circle from there. And my company, UCS Advisors, which stands for Use Common Sense, has been around since 2017.
Wow, that's quite a journey, quite diverse change. But right from the beginning, you had that mindset of you wanted to grow and you also wanted to exit. But you obviously went about that in a structured way to grow, to scale quickly and position yourself for an exit. And you've done the same with those subsequent companies. I think a lot of businesses are thinking, well, hang on, how is that possible? I can't get funding to grow at the moment, which is why we're having this conversation today. A lot of small businesses, a lot of startup businesses, pre-revenue, really struggle with access to funding. Banks traditionally won't lend to them. Where do they go? They can't always go to the bank of mum and dad, and that's not a very secure bank. How does a pre-revenue business go about raising funding?
Well, I think we should take another step further, Paul. And for all your listeners, if your business is 5 years old or less, you need to listen to this podcast today. Now, it's not just pre-revenue, but if your business is 5 years old or less, there's a very strong chance you're going to need some additional capital to make your business grow and expand. So let's start with the very beginning. You said pre-revenue company, right?
Yeah.
Well, some of us have heard the book Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Well, one of our green nuggets, which we'll get to in a little bit, is failure to plan is planning to fail. So if you're a pre-revenue company, how much money are you going to need? Over what time frame? And there's something called tranches of money, which is where you get a certain amount of the larger amount of money. How much you need per tranche? What's it going to go for? And by the way, most importantly, Paul, when people are raising money pre-revenue, it's why are you doing this? And what's the purpose? And let me give you a couple of great examples. As I mentioned, I had 17 companies. Some of these companies I started, I knew were only going to last 2 or 3 years on purpose. Some of these other companies, the goal was to literally build them up and then sell them before they were 7 years old. I had the vision ahead of time. We've had some clients who their goal is, hey, I want to pass this down to my kids. Or I don't really want to be an entrepreneur. I just want to work for myself for the next 20 to 30 years. And that's okay, whatever avenue you choose. But we need to talk about it first. Because if you can't talk about it to yourself realistically, how are you going to talk to an investor about it?
So being very clear on purpose is important right from the beginning.
But very clear on purpose. Secondly, speaking, how much money are you going to need and over what time frame? Thirdly, how are you going to pay back the investor? Which we forget. If you're going to use someone else's money, how are you going to pay them back? Fourthly, you also need to have the most basic investment data room done. And here's an example. People hear about the pitch deck all the time. But what about your one-page executive summary? Most people forget to do that. What about your 2-minute video pitch? This thing's called a walking television. You'll be amazed how many potential investors will watch a 2-minute video pitch before they'll ever talk to you on a phone, or they'll even look at your pitch deck. And let's take another step further. We need to identify the type of investor profile, meaning what type of investor do you want? And then we can actually target our outreach for them. A lot of people all around the world take a bunch of spaghetti and throw it against the wall. They see what sticks and they go, oh, there's no money, Paul. Paul, there's no money at all. No one's going to give me money. Well, no, you haven't even identified. And when we work with our clients, we actually have 7 questions we ask our clients to say, have you done these 7 items? If you haven't, you're only at the tip of your capital raising journey.
So there's a lot of planning there. So we're talking about purpose. We're now starting to talk about having a plan and preparing before you even go out and actually ask the question about how you can raise money.
Yep.
So I think let's just go back a little way and just look at, well, okay, we can't get traditional funding from the banks. What kinds of funding are available for the businesses that we're talking about?
Sure. So let's be industry agnostic. Let's just kind of throw everyone into one bucket, okay? Statistically speaking, if your company is less than 5 years old, you got less than a 15% chance of getting money from a bank, from a traditional bank. But you have private lenders. That's one option. You have something also called alternative lenders. Now, before people freak out and they go, oh, that's a lot of like high interest rate. Well, depending on if you want to raise money from an individual investor or a family wealth office or a venture capital fund, that actually might be cheaper and you'll protect more of your equity. by going that way. And a lot of times, and here's a general rule of thumb. If you need $3.5 million or less, here's a little secret, Paul. You ready for this? It's called LinkedIn. We call it LinkedIn money.
Okay,
If,
I'm
if you
intrigued.
need if you need $3.5 million or less, you can find that on LinkedIn. But that's being prepared, having a capital raising system in place, and a few other things. But that's all different ways. And then I'm going to use the United States Small Business Association of America. If you are a pre-revenue company and you're doing a friends and family round, 68% of your investors will come within 3 degrees of your network. Now, I'm going to blow your mind really quick. If you happen to have your phone by you, how many contacts do you think you have in your phone? Just give me a guess.
I think I would be conservative, and I would say I'd have at least 250.
Okay. So I was hoping you'd say more like 600 to 1,000 because most people usually have a lot more, but we'll say let's say 300. Okay.
Okay, 300.
What is 8% of 300? 24, yeah. Do you know, statistically speaking, right now, Paul, you are sitting on 24 potential investors in your own phone that you don't even realize. And those are called your level 1 connections. Think about the last statement I just said. Because when you're raising money, a very big problem us entrepreneurs have is we count other people's money, which is a huge mistake. A second very common mistake with pre-revenue companies is this. They ask for money too soon. What you want to do is you want them to know you, like you, trust you, learn your story, understand your pitch. And Paul, I listened to your podcast. You do a great job hosting. You ask great questions. I'm sure you practice that over time.
Oh, yeah.
Something we tell our clients here at UCS Advisors is you need to practice your 2-minute pitch at least 150 times before you present it to a potential investor. And people go, oh my God, 150 times? And I go, 150 times 2 is 300. That's only 5 hours. It's really not that long.
No, it's not. And just on that point, like sometimes you'll think, oh, I'll only practice it 5 or 6 times, but you can guarantee that after that 5 or 6 times, when you go to deliver it, you'll get it wrong.
Correct. And here's another thing about you're talking about, oh, what happens if you can't get funding from banks? That's another huge mistake that founders make when raising money. Oh, I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket and hope and pray the bank says yes. Well, that could take months on end. You should be going after private investor money or other ways to get money too. And here's something that everyone can do on their own. And it's this word called free. It's free for you to go on LinkedIn and to find and connect with at least 200 investors. It just takes some time, but it's free for you to do. It's not going to cost you any money. It's free for you to dedicate 45 minutes once a week to go on this little thing called Google. Don't know if you've heard of it. But you can go find different online forums and seminars and places you can go and learn from other investors and other people that are pitching. So this is where the work comes in a little bit. And yes, it can be a pain in the butt, but we help streamline that process.
So there's quite a lot to learn in there. And I'm thinking, I'm hearing, and perhaps I'm assuming a little bit here, but when a business first comes to you, they're in a pretty rough situation. There's a bit of work that needs to happen before you can actually go and make a successful pitch for funding. I think you've got a term for it which you like to use, the green nugget. Can you explain a bit more about that?
Sure. I'll explain what the green nugget is in a second. And people come to us, Paul, for one of 3 reasons. One is, I don't want to learn this on my own, and I need someone to teach me that's done it and is also an investor themselves. That's reason number 1. Number 2, they come to us is that, hey, I haven't raised at least 50% of the money I need within 6 months. I'm probably doing something wrong. Or number 3 is, I'm getting told no all the time. I'm kind of new at this. My lawyer can't help me. My accountant can't help me. What can you do? And here at UCS Advisors, it actually started back in 2018. I started to tell people, you come to us, you're like a dirty green nugget. It's our job to shine you up and shape you like a nice, shiny green diamond, then show you off to the world. And then from there, on LinkedIn for the last 3 years now, twice a week, we post Dr. David's Green Nugget Advisory Tip. So we give an advisory tip on capital raising. And part of capital raising is networking skills, presentation skills, follow-up emails, using a mixture between marketing, sales, presentation, networking, and capital raising. And that's what a Dr. David's Green Nugget tip is.
Wow. So people are coming to you and they've got one of three main problems, and you're helping take one of those three problems, polishing it up, helping them with the work. What is the outcomes there? Are people coming just expecting a quick response, or are they finding that they actually need to do a lot more work than they thought and they're prepared to do it?
So it's a great question. The way I set up my company, UCS Advisors, was 3 packages. Paul, you don't know me and I don't know you. And you know and I know if you are a startup, every dollar counts, correct?
Yes.
So why should you pay a large monthly consulting fee? Makes no sense, right? You don't have the money for that. So we actually do a 10-hour package because there's a lot of work you can do on your own. And then we move at your pace. Some clients want to meet every week. Some clients want to meet once a month. We have some clients that we only meet once a quarter with. Then we also offer a 25-hour package where we're getting now deeper into the weeds and doing deliverables. And for some people say, listen, I want my hand held for 6 months. We do a 6-month VIP package. So what happens is some people will come to us, and I'll give you 3 examples. One example, the person was told no all the time. It couldn't figure out why. He had over 150 investors in his pipeline. Well, his presentation was horrible. And the way he answered questions was even worse. So we mainly worked on his presentation skills and how to do a proper email follow-up. We had another client that came to us, and they literally, it looked like a 3rd grader did their deck. Like a 3rd grader did it. And so we actually had to help them shine up their deck, create an executive summary, and then we taught them how to do a proper company newsletter. And they were surprised how they turned 28% of the investors that said no to them into yeses just because of their company newsletter. We have a company over in Germany. They came to us and they said, listen, the guy's in his late 60s. He goes, I've had some companies. It's always been very corporate. This is my first solopreneur project. I'm too old and I don't want to waste my time. Can you help me for the next 6 months? And we actually really dug deeper, helped set up his investors outreach system, pitch deck, executive summary, presentation skills, got him access to places to pitch for himself, and got him some investor meetings as well too. And Paul, do you want to hear what the biggest mistake is with our industry?
Absolutely. Yes.
You hear, just show me the money. I don't need help. Just show me the money. I'm the best closer in the world. I'm the best salesman in the world. I just gotta be shown where the money is and I can do it. Well, the answer is no. Because if you're that good, you've already raised the money by now. And something else to think about is when people are saying, oh, I just want to be shown the money, it's, well, you haven't done the work yet. You put so much work into your business. And you rely on your lawyer to do the legal side and your accountant to make sure the performers are and the financials are there, but what are you doing for capital raising? And have you heard of a small little individual by the name of Richard Branson at all?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And here in America, you ever heard of someone by the name of Mark Cuban at all?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So Mark Cuban, Richard Branson, they both say the same exact thing. If you're going to be a business owner or an entrepreneur, the very first skill set you need to learn is capital raising, because you're going to need it for the rest of your life.
So both those examples, they've gone and created multiple ventures, not all successful, but multiple ventures.
Yep.
And you're saying capital raising is one of the most important skills. Obviously, to go and do those multiple ventures, you need the funding because you may not want to pull that funding out of
Mhm.
another venture, but that skill is critical. And we look at those guys and think, oh, they've just started another company. What are they doing? But obviously, they've done the work. They're able to raise the money to get that off the ground very quickly. And I think Richard Branson's pretty well known for encouraging ideas and innovation from his people and saying, yes, I'll support that, but let's go raise some money and go and do it and kick it off.
He does, and he also, if we dig deeper and pull back the layers, it's also about protecting your company. Because as your company progresses, the valuation of your company should go up higher, in theory. So that's the other mistake that's made a lot. When people's company are 5 years old or less, or even pre-revenue, they're afraid to take some debt. They're afraid to maybe sometimes go to friends and family. Well, if you are, then is your idea really that good? Here's an example. There are some private investors that I work with. The very first question they ask everyone is, how much money have you put into it? And how much money has your friends and family put into it? Based off that answer, they will determine if they even want to look at your pitch deck at all or not.
Okay. And I guess the assumption there is if you're not prepared to put money in yourself, then why should somebody else?
Exactly. And especially if this is the first time you're doing this, or maybe you had a couple failures. You have to be able, when you're raising money, this is a Dr. David's green nugget. So everyone that's listening, this is a Dr. David's green nugget. Here's the basic rules for raising money. Ready? It's a subjective story backed by objective data. I'll say that again. It's a subjective story backed by objective data. Think about that. That's a basic principle of raising capital.
Okay. So let's just drill down on that a little bit
Yeah.
because some business owners are not so good with the English. It wasn't their favorite subject in school. So subjective, we mean that it's open to interpretation. There's no hard and fast rule. There's no, tick the boxes and you'll get an automatic yes.
There's no statistics. It can be emotional. It can be like, I have the best product. Well, best is subjective. Or, hey, I think it's cold right now. That's subjective. Stuff like that. So, but you're telling your story, and then objective is data points or statistics. When I say I think it's cold outside because it's -2 Celsius, or I think I have and I'll use myself. I think I have the best physical therapy clinic in New Jersey because I won #1 physical therapy clinic 2 years in a row. So I gave that subjective statement and I backed it up with data.
So you're adding a lot of credence, a lot of proof behind the statements that you're making, which
Exactly.
sort of reduces that, I guess, that subjective nature of the answer and narrows it down to, okay, you take away a lot of the vagueness, a lot of that unsupported, and you've got some very clear facts backing up what you're saying.
My old mentor, the old physio from the Gold Coast, used to say to me, fact or feeling? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, is that a fact or is that a feeling? And I'm like, I don't understand. He goes, the statement you just made, is that a fact? Or is it just a feeling? You don't really know if it's 100% true at all or not. And I was like, that really put a lot of perspective for me.
Yeah. And I think if we can make it more factual or closer to 100% factual, then we're going to get more interest.
To a degree, it's just more of we're always going to say subjective statements, but depending on the statement you make subjectively, will sometimes cause an automatic red flag to an investor and say they're full of BS and they're uninterested. Versus sometimes, and like we work with a lot of technology companies and AI companies. We had a client in Australia that had a piece of machinery for agriculture, and they kept on using very large words like we're the best. No one can compete us. We don't have any competitors and all this stuff. And we're like, but where's the data to back that up? By saying that, you're causing yourself to fail. And for our artificial technology companies and some of our fintech companies, they give so much data that investors are like, I don't understand what you're saying. And so sometimes you have to give like an analogy.
Yeah, so using that data to support what you're saying, but also using your statements to explain, I guess, the complexity of the information at times would be very beneficial. It seems like there's a lot of areas that people can get wrong when they try and do this by themselves,
Okay.
and I feel, sorry, I've observed a number of clients making this mistake of either ruling themselves out and saying we're not eligible or we're never going to get this kind of funding, or they've gone the other way and said, yeah, our situation is so great, we're absolutely going to get funding. Both have sort of ruled them out in one way, because the guy that says no straight away hasn't even put a pitch to an investor. The guy that thinks he's a certainty, well, he's overlooking a lot of the things you've just been going through. So go back and re-listen to what David's been saying, because you may have missed something. Um, you've got some help there, though, with that assessment process. Is that correct?
Yeah, I do. And so, interesting enough, a few things. Here in the United States, the statistic is if you try to raise money by yourself, you have less than an 8% chance of success. That's not very high. Also, what we do on our website, which is ucsgreatness.com, because our goal is to help bring out the greatness in everyone. So our website, ucsgreatness.com, we have what's called a free investor ready quiz. We tell people, take the quiz. Maybe you don't need our help. Maybe you are ready to go. But it's also, this is the physio in me, as I take a medical approach towards business. The best place for you to fail is here in front of me in a controlled environment. We're not going to judge you. I'm an investor myself. I work with investors. We'd rather have you fail in front of us, because that leads to another very common mistake. And here's another Dr. David's green nugget, Paul, for your audience. Ready? Yep. Before you take anyone's advice on your capital raising journey, whoever's giving you advice, ask them some very simple questions. When's the last time you've invested in a company like mine? And how many investments have you made, private investments, in the last 12 months? If the answer is no and no, you may not want to take what they're saying very seriously, because that's what we get a lot here at UCS Advisors is, oh, well, I've talked to this person, I've talked to this person, I've talked to that person, and they all told me these things. I go, great. How many of them are investors? Oh, none of them are. How many of them have ever raised money for a company before? None of them have. Well, why are you taking their advice then? That's like me going to a mechanic, asking him to teach me how to literally make a 5-course meal at my house. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some challenges there that we get the wrong advice from the wrong people, and
Yep.
we're asking the wrong questions. But you've sort of helped us not make that mistake. You've got a very simple checklist to help us identify the questions we should be asking, who we should be asking them to, but also, are we ready?
That's true. And we also can figure out the top 8 to 10 questions an investor will ask you just based off of your deck. And something we also do too is we use something called the positive power of negative preparation. It messes with your head when you hear it, the positive power of negative preparation. So what that means is, Paul, if I know I'm going to present to you an idea, I need to figure out every potential question you're going to ask me, so I have at least some type of response. And that's the positive power of negative preparation. And sometimes our clients are like, oh my God, we spent 2 hours prepping for this meeting and it lasted 10 minutes. I go, that's a good thing, because you had their questions already prepared to answer.
Yeah, no, that's good. Great advice there. So just recapping, a business owner, even up to 5 years in business, shouldn't be ruling out capital raising as a source of funding to grow and expand their business.
That is correct. And let's add another little caveat to that. Paul, if you need money for your company 9 months from today, that means taking out an extra credit card. That means maybe doing a line of credit. That includes doing a bank loan. That includes asking friends or family. You need to start today. And if you ask founders, if you have a business that's 5 years old or less, ask them, will you need additional money for your business 9 months from today? If the answer is yes, you need to start planning now.
Yep, absolutely. So you're saying 9 months from today. Is that a standard or a typical time frame from when you start working with a business before they actually start seeing any funding come through, or is it longer?
I've seen shorter, I've seen longer. I've seen a client get funded in less than 6 business days. That doesn't always happen. I've seen people take 2 or 3 years because sometimes they just don't want to take the advice. They want to be stubborn and do it their way. But in the ideal world, it's 9 months because now you're also negotiating from a position of strength and not scarcity or out of necessity. Also, if we were to look at the general timeline, it takes on average 8, like the number 8 touches with an investor before they write you a check. So I don't know how to play cricket. I only know a game of rounders. That's like going 8 for 8 in playoff baseball, or going 8 for 8 in 10-foot putts. This is not going to happen. It's very difficult to do. So the timeline of you talk to the potential investor, then they do a follow-up and another follow-up. Then they might be doing 60 days of due diligence. Now you're negotiating the terms. You're looking at 4 months right there.
A lot of time involved. Be prepared. I think we look at the 6 days as an exception. I think they're the unicorn ones that we want to hold up and say that's great, but we know that that's not the normal case. So there's some time frame involved. There's some investment in there, but there's also a need to recognise, and I think this is the critical thing, is that as a business owner, unless you've gone through this, unless your business is capital raising, you need help from somebody that's experienced, done it before, and is willing to invest themselves. Would that be a fair summary?
Very, very fair, and it's a skill set you're going to have for the rest of your life.
And very important, as we said, as you touched on, Richard Branson, Mark Cuban, essential skill. More business owners need to be aware of it. And I think what we've done today is we've sort of busted the seams of the box of thinking around how a business can go about raising funding. So a lot of them are still thinking that traditional way of banks, mum and dad, credit cards, as you mentioned. But you need to do the work.
Exactly. And one of my employees, she tells this favorite story. We had a client, and the client was getting all these packages shipped to her house over, and her business was growing. She was running it out of her house. And the postman's like, oh, like, what are you doing? Like, I'm always here dropping all these packages. And she goes, oh, well, she explains her business. And, I'm starting to raise money. I'm preparing to raise money. And the postman goes, oh, well, my sister-in-law is X, Y, and Z. They'd be interested. And they landed over $1 million investor through the connection through the postman. Think about that. She didn't count other people's money. She worked on her 2-minute pitch. It worked. And the postman's like, oh, my sister-in-law, of all people. Who would have thought? You never know who knows who. And that's also why, too, where when you're talking to business owners, I only want to talk to investors. I only want to talk to the check writers. And we say, no, 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 no. Here's a Dr. David, green nuggets. You want to talk to potential investor resources. Those are the people who actually know other people have capital that actually write the checks. It's something to think about.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. David, you have given us so many green nuggets, or should I say so many shining bright diamonds today.
I appreciate it.
On how we look at, I guess, capital funding for our businesses in a completely different way. And I think you've really shattered some of the myths out there about the limitations, and that this whole concept of capital raising is only for the big guys, the top end of town, or the large end of town, I should say, not necessarily the top, because there's some great businesses out there who are much smaller in size at the moment, or pre-revenue even. But there's an opportunity there, but we have to get the right advice. And look, we've mentioned the Green Nugget Advisory. We've mentioned you on LinkedIn. Where would be the best place to go to find out more about how somebody could start working with you?
Either one or two options, my LinkedIn page, David Cunic, or my company website, ucsgreatness.com. Remember, UCS stands for Use Common Sense. So ucsgreatness.com has our investor ready quiz, has our contact information, has our phone number on it. Those are the two best ways to find us.
Great. Fantastic. And as always, those links to those references, resources will be in the show notes and also on the businessbehindyourbusiness.com website. What I'd also encourage you to do is share this with another business owner, because you don't know whether they are actually in need of hearing this or not, but share it with them anyway. And look, there are lots of nuggets, green diamonds. Go back and re-listen to this, because there's a lot of great content, great advice.
Hey, Paul, let's challenge our audience. Here's a green nugget. Take this video, and this is a great trick. Take this podcast, send it to 3 people in your network to say, hey, I heard this podcast. I learned something. I thought you might benefit from it too. Send it to 3 people. It will start to spread and spread and spread.
I couldn't have said it any better. I think that's a great challenge, a great way of doing it. And look, don't be selfish. Don't hold this knowledge to yourself. Make sure you share it, as David suggested. Send it to at least 3 people in your network, and help them.
Pay it forward.
Their journey.
Pay it forward. We're all here to help each other. We're all here to lift each other up and empower each other with information and knowledge. So as they say, rising tides lift all ships. So let's all rise up together and be successful together.
Well, it's a great way to finish our conversation today, but your conversation is just getting started. So we want you to keep that conversation going. Reach out to Dr. David Cunic at UCS Greatness, and latch onto those green nuggets and turn them into diamonds for your business. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Dr. David Cunic. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. It was great.
That's a wrap for this episode of The Business Behind Your Business. We hope you found today's discussion insightful and valuable for your business journey. Before we go, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favourite platform. Share it with fellow business owners who could benefit, and send in your burning questions, because we love hearing from you. Missed any of our previous episodes or looking for additional resources to help grow your business? Head over to our website at thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. There you'll find our full archive of past episodes, along with show notes, transcripts, and links to valuable resources mentioned in each episode. Your journey to business success continues at thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. Until next time, stay inspired, stay informed, and keep building the business of your dreams.